Hear me? Up, I need to be louder. All right, how am I doing loud? We're all as high as we can go. All right. Better, Don? All right. Okay, so first of all, thank you all for coming. If you want to move forward, we got some extra shade right up here. You can use the shade back there. You can use any of the shade that we have available. But I would guess that the shade you'd want to use would be the one where it's you're going to want to look at me, I guess, which I don't think I've ever said that sentence. My name's Mike Hall, and I'm pretty sure I know just about all of you. And I want to thank everybody for coming today to celebrate my dad, Virgil Hall. If you don't know my dad, I kind of wonder why you're here, but welcome. You can still have snacks. First of all, in my real world sort of job, I am a substitute teacher, and there are some similarities I can see in what we're doing here today with me subbing, except one, I'm not taking attendance, and then two, you don't have to ask permission to go to the bathroom, to get snacks, or to go get a drink. So feel free to wander, but don't hit your aunt while you're waving your arms around. That is something, especially that aunt. Got to be careful of those things. Also, one other nice thing about that's different from subbing, none of you have asked me to tie your shoes. So thank you for that. First of all, I apologize that I haven't memorized all this. I'm not, memorizing speeches for some reason it doesn't work. I can remember the 1975 Cincinnati Reds starting lineup, but I can't remember about a 5-minute speech. It's kind of sad. One little housekeeping thing before we get started. Dad would always say, and he would occasionally double up his fist while saying this, he would say, I don't want anyone to give my friends or family any guff. So, if you have some guff, keep it to yourself. All right? So, a couple months ago, a little before, Dad was getting a little weaker, and he said, "Good bud, come here." And so I walked up to him and I said, "Yeah, Dad, what do you need?" And he said, "Come here, come up." And so I bent down toward him and he said, "Good bud, I know after I go, you and your mom and brother and family, you're all probably going to plan something for me. But I just want to tell you something, son, before that, you're not very funny." And so I mentioned this to my mom last night, and her immediate response was, "Yeah, he did have those moments of clarity." I made my part up. She was answering honestly. There we go. But what Dad would always say, and did for all of my 53 years and Rich's 56 years, he would clap. He would come to our events and cheer for us and have a good time, whether I'm sitting on the bench at a Little League baseball game, sitting on the bench at a elementary school basketball game, playing an out of tune tuba in elementary school, and he would just humor me. So I think a good instruction for this moment that Dad would say is just humor me. And so I need to do really quick here, if anybody remembers this is my Marco Rubio. Got a little parched there for a second. Dad, if Dad were to be here for an event like this, he would be saying, "For me? This is for me?" And we say, "Yeah, Dad, these are the people who love you, our friends, our family. They love to be here for you." He said, "But for me? It's your mother. She knows all these people, and she'll talk to them all. It's her. That's the one we're doing this for." And, excuse me. Indeed. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. So that's what we're doing. We're doing it for Mom. We're doing it for Sue. But sorry. We're celebrating Dad. We're the people who love him. We're here to laugh and to smile and to have a good time, and hopefully not walk out of Sue's shot more than I already have. But one thing that I think is very, very important, especially over the last year and a half, is this is a time to hug my mom. Excuse me, sorry about that. Dad adored Mom from the very, very beginning. They met in early 1963 in West Glacier, Montana. He was the telephone man that was installing phones over in the new houses and the administration building. He came in the administration building one day and he found a short little lady stuck atop a filing cabinet, a damsel in distress, but without the Rapunzel hair. And on his own, he didn't even know her at that point, beyond her being the cute little lady he liked to follow around while she walked. And he rescued her from atop the filing cabinet. I might not even be here today. She might still be atop that filing cabinet had he not been there. And so this was early 1963. They got to know each other. They met each other. It took a long time, but she finally convinced him to ask her out. And that would be around June of 1963.
True.
Okay? And so in June of 1963, they go out to dinner somewhere, have a great dinner. After dinner, and some of you have heard the story, I like telling it whenever I can. After dinner, they went to a place that Mom adored, a place that Dad always loved. They went to the shore of Lake McDonald. And there, he said to her, on their very first date, mind you, remember, he said, someday, I'm going to build you a 2-car garage. Mom, I think, thought at that moment it meant that he wanted to marry her. Heretofore, he had planned to become a hermit in Glacier Park. So he might have just been saying, I'm going to build you a garage, I'm going to my hermit cabin. Luckily, that didn't happen. He introduced her to his family in Helena. She introduced him to the Smiths of West Glacier and beyond. And so, 3 months later, on September 7th, 1963, they got married. So, hooray. That is great. And something I just learned from my Aunt Ruthie, who couldn't be here tonight, was that she took Mom out shopping for her wedding dress. But Mom was, as short as she is now, and a tiny little person. And they didn't have tiny little person wedding dresses in Great Falls, Montana. So, and it might have even been Helena, Montana. For her wedding dress, I find this rather amusing, she wore a girl's confirmation dress. And I'm just thinking of, I don't know what kind of church it was, but sometimes the minister might have just looked and goes, isn't that the same? That girl was confirmed in that dress like 2-3 weeks ago. I don't know. So, but it would have been 58 years this September that Mom and Dad were married. Rich was born in August of 64. I was born a little while later. And we had a wonderful time. We've always had a great time. And even though, and as I mentioned a bit ago, Mom hasn't gotten to hug as many people in the last year and a half as she usually would. Everyone here, you all know my mom. Hugging is on her resume as a hobby. She's good at it. She's done it competitively at the state fair. But with COVID, she hasn't had an opportunity to do it for a while. But recently she has. And so let's hug my mom. Yeah. Okay? And I want to think their loved ones, friends, family, colleagues, whom we've lost over the last year or recently. So we're thinking about them and thinking fondly of them as well. And just every day it's getting better, and we'll continue to persevere. One thing about Dad, he was VK Hall, Virgil K. Hall. But if you ever chatted with him, at times he would say, "What's your name?" He'd say, "Joe Blow from Kokomo," or this is a good one, Clyde Q. Klodovich. And so he and I would walk around the block, and he'd say, "But I don't have my wallet, Mike." I said, "We're okay, we know who we are." And he'd say, "Yes, I'm Clyde Q. Klodovich." And I'd say, "Yes, and I'm your son." And we'd continue on, we'd make it back home, and we'd always go to that house where that lady had the cookies. His other little name for him, he called himself the old buzzard, the grumpy old man. You're going to do this event for this grumpy old man? And we'd say, "No, Dad, you're not grumpy. You're old, but you're not grumpy." And yes, we're doing this for him. He was an amazing man, an impressive person. After age 50, so my age and beyond, he started bicycle riding long distances. He rode over the Sun Road multiple times on a bicycle. I'm guessing he forgot that he could have driven over, but he did it. Did it with friends, with family, multiple times. He drove from Great Falls to White Silver Springs to Helena, back to Great Falls. He rode all over almost every weekend. And the wonderful Dr. Jack Haling is here, and many, many times they were biking partners. Dad, he built stuff. He built the two-car garage, but he also built bedrooms for Rich and me in our basement, another bathroom. He built stuff. He had the most beautiful garden. Well, there are lots of beautiful gardens in our neighborhood, but he had one of the best gardens in our neighborhood with wonderful flowers and vegetables that I didn't eat and all kinds of other good things. He could repair stuff. I learned none of those things. He tried to teach me. It didn't really work. All I did, was write a little speech. So, here's what's going to happen here today. I'm going to talk a little more. I'm going to read some messages from some wonderful folks who have given me messages to read, and then going to let anyone else who wants to talk can come up and say a few words. And anything you want, talk for a couple minutes. Then later on, I've rewritten a song for Dad, and Patrick, Paul, Ryan, and I are going to play it for y'all. They're musicians. I'm a willing singer. So we'll get started with, I'll read some of these messages. Hang on. Let's hope the wind doesn't pick up, because then I'll be lost more than usual. This first message, excuse me, need another bit of water. Stay hydrated. Okay, this first message is, hold on. Okay, it's from my Aunt Ruthie. My Aunt Ruthie couldn't be here today. She and her husband, my Uncle Jim, can't travel anymore, but she wrote this message for us today. As the only surviving sibling out of 7, I'm now a Hall orphan. Believe me, I still feel the loss of each one. Virgil was 6 years older, so our younger years don't fluff up in this old brain. My first real memory was showing off with a twirl-a-skirt made in 8th grade home economics. When Virgil saw it, he commented, "You're as graceful as the bird we call an elephant." Luckily, it was funny to me. I also remember our parents driving to Butte when he came home on furlough from the Navy. I saw a sailor walking toward us, but I didn't recognize him as Virgil. He had this new full moon face. He had bulked up at boot camp, no longer the skinny Virgil that had left a few months before. He was trying to break his swearing habit, which I understand was very well developed. And so his newest favorite non-swearing expression was kiss a foot. So Pius, I think you're allowed to say kiss a foot. Am I right? We're good with that? Okay. His favorite was kiss a foot. And Aunt Ruthie said, I still use that expression. My friends where I volunteer know where it came from. She continues, in my eyes, Virgil could do no wrong. I still have his heavy navy pea coat. He always gave good advice and was a joy to be around. He gave new meaning to horsing around. There was a difficult period in his life, but he came home a better man and immediately got a job with Mountain States Telephone and Telegraph. A few years after returning to Montana, he met Nancy, and I was beyond happy. He soon traveled to Helena so Nancy could meet his parents and family. Later, he announced he was getting married, and we were all thrilled. I immediately loved Nancy, but she shopped for clothes at a kid's store, which made me a tad jealous. But their marriage was the best thing that ever happened to Virgil. And then they had the two beautiful boys. That's a quote. I remember Virgil holding Rich and calling him his little man. He was the best dad, and our daddy, my Grandpa Hall, was a winner for him to emulate. Neither of them was much for socializing. They're two apples from the same tree. Michael, that's me, leaving a job he loved to come home and help his mom care for his dad shows the real depth of family love. Virgil could not have stayed home otherwise, and together they made his life as fun-filled as possible. I so enjoyed the phone chats. He didn't always know me or who Nancy was, but he certainly knew she was the best cook. She still is and loves doing it. This boggles my mind. This was very difficult writing about my big brother for his celebration of life. Attending in person would have been impossible as my tear ducts can be overactive, and my love for Virgil would have certainly opened the well. Thank you to everyone who came for this special celebration, since my husband Jim and I could not. And this is a quote, I don't necessarily agree with it. I think if you ever need a party planner, Mike is your guy. She might be, I don't know who the Mike, it might be a different Mike. Let's be serious here. A second message was from, was from the spouse of one of his colleagues at the telephone company, Mrs. Joanne Bradley. And she wrote, Virgil was a wonderful, wonderful man who treated everyone with kindness. He worked with my husband. Virgil did his job well and appreciated colleagues who worked hard too. I enjoyed doing puzzles with him and just talking with him while eating Nancy's homemade cookies. I loved crotchety old telephone men like my husband and Virgil. That was from Joanne Bradley.
She always called him crotchety old telephone.
And we have another message. Rich and I have been lucky enough and had the good fortune for our entire lives to have a bonus grandma right across the alley from us. And her name is Gertrude, but I think Rich started calling her Tude. And so a few of us get to call her Tude. And Tude is 102, and she's going to be 103 in a month and a half or so. And we're very fortunate to have this bonus grandma. And she said about my dad, everyone needs a Virgil, but not everyone gets one. I was lucky. So Tude said it well. Now, for anybody, I've said this to a few already, if you've watched the TV show Seinfeld, this is possibly the biggest instance of worlds colliding that I have ever experienced. I love that you are all here from all over the place. This also, except I've been rambling on for a long time, it somewhat reminds me of one of the old-time Dean Martin celebrity roasts, except I'm not Dean Martin, I'm not wearing a tux, and Toady Fields isn't here. But now, we want to give anyone else an opportunity to say something about Dad. Come up and talk for a few minutes if you'd like. And like I said, later on, we're going to have a song to sing, and then we're going to have pie. So, if you would like to come on, anyone would like to come up and say something, you are welcome to do it. come on up. You have to come up here because this is in the view of the camera that we're recording for Aunt Ruthie. And you can scoot back into the shade, I think, and still be in the shot, right, Sue?
Right.
All right. So Carol Shipley is going to come up and say a few words. She's like our bonus sister. We've got bonus family all over the room.
Son of a kiss a foot anyway. I knew this day would come. It was inevitable. I loved Virgil's sayings. 46 years ago, in June, we bought the house across the street. We hadn't moved in yet, but we didn't have the key to the house, but we started yard work before we could move into the house. And Virgil was out in his yard, and I walked across the street, and he was the first one in the neighborhood that I met. So it didn't take me long to figure out who this Virgil Hall was. I was pregnant with our daughter Melanie, 6 months, and I quickly figured out Virgil is kind to all people, but he has a special soft spot for pregnant ladies, babies, and little dogs. And I certainly witnessed that over the years many, many times. So I loved his sayings. It wasn't long that we pretty quickly adopted the Hall family as our family. And I had a dad, and I'm pretty lucky I had a second dad. I adopted Virgil. I guess I don't even remember that I gave him a choice. And he didn't have a daughter, so didn't he need one? So shortly I started to call him Dad, or as our son Jason, after he came along, and Virgil, by the way, is Jason's godfather, and Nancy's the godmother. Jason referred to him as two dads. So I did have two dads. I was very blessed to have two dads. So over the years, we got to know each other well. We had many conversations over observing gardens and criticizing and critiquing and how do we fix this. We had many meals together that we shared, picnics, Father's Days, holidays, a frequent, because we had no family in Montana, a frequent Thanksgiving was the Pilgrims went across the street or vice versa to have the meal with the Indians. And it's worked well all these years. I quickly learned to appreciate his work ethic. He loved our children. When my husband, who traveled for his work, I knew that I had a first person to call. Whenever something went wrong, the furnace didn't come on and Virgil was across the street, we were going to check it out. And Virgil was the one on the list, number one, that if the baby came and Ron was on the road, Virgil got called and we had it all arranged. And I remember when I was pregnant with Jason a week before he came, and he came a week early. Actually, it was just a few days before he came, and I said to my husband, who happened to be home, I said, so if tonight's the night, should I just call Virgil or do you want me to wake you up? And he said, why don't you just call Virgil? And he was supposed to leave town the next day, but Jason chose to come in the middle of the night. And Virgil got a call, but it was so that our daughter had a place to go to so that I could go to the hospital and Ron took me. So I learned to appreciate Virgil's sense of humor a lot and his sayings. You know, many of you who know him know his sayings. I'll think of him often, gardening, preparing one of his favorite foods that I know he loved that I made. And when I am so busy because I'm trying to get everything done on a deadline, I will sometimes say to myself, and I said it to him and I picked it up from him, is, I'm busier than a cranberry merchant in Yuletide season. Was one of my favorites of his. So, I knew it was inevitable. Virgil died on a Monday night. That Sunday afternoon, we were busy in the yard doing, I'm not sure what we were doing, and I said to Ron, I need to go over and see Virgil. I tried to catch him at a good moment, a wake moment. Walked in the back door, and Virgil and Mike are sitting at the table working on a puzzle. Virgil was looking at the puzzle. He admitted to me, he says, I really can't do this so much anymore. And we pointed out a couple of pieces, and I stood beside him with my hand on his shoulder. But when I walked in the door, I always said, for years and years, "Hi, Dad." And to the very end, he looked up and he'd grin with that sweet grin. "Hello, little lady." So I stood beside him and we visited for just a bit, and we looked at this puzzle. And when I got ready to go, I said, "Well, I gotta go now, Dad." He said, "Well, goodbye. It's always good to see you, little lady." So, Dad, little lady checking out. Till we meet again.
Good job.
Thanks, Carol. I think my cousin Linda's coming up at this moment, and to say a few words. So, just like when I'm wearing the Cincinnati Reds cap today, Dad was a Cincinnati Reds fan. From around age 10, he chose the Cincinnati Reds because on the front page of the Helena newspaper, the box scores were in a lower corner, and all the other paper boys liked the Yankees or liked the Dodgers, but he liked the word Cincinnati and decided to become a Cincinnati Reds fan. I followed him as a Reds fan. My reason was they were really, really good when I started learning about baseball, and my dad did it. But here is my cousin Linda.
Thank you. There are actually 4 of Virgil and Nancy's nieces and nephews here out of the 5. So we're the last of the Hall relatives. And just a short story. I absolutely love bicycle riding. I ride it all the time. I've gone on my bike all the time. I've gone on trips through Yellowstone, through all sorts of different places in Montana. And when I got my first bike on my 5th birthday, 1953 in the spring, and Virgil showed up shortly after that with Grandma and Grandpa and Uncle Dick and Aunt Ruthie. And my dad had not been successful in teaching me how to ride it, and God forbid that I would use training wheels. Virgil taught me how to ride my first bike. There's a picture of him teaching me that. He got a apple basket, turned it upside down so I could stand on that, pushed me off, held onto the back of my seat, and I haven't stopped. And for that, I thank him greatly.
Lead into you, honey.
Thanks, Linda. Anyone else who would like to come up and say something is certainly welcome. Dr. Jack Haling, one of Dad's biking buddies. One of my favorite people. Of course, room full. And here. Oh my goodness. Do we need any music?
You want to sing, Mike?
Oh my goodness.
Why don't you sing the...
In the Navy, you can sail the 7 seas in the Navy. You can keep your mind at ease in the Navy. Holy moly. In the Navy. In the Navy. He's getting there. Oh wait, this isn't the Navy thing. Oh, bicycle, bicycle. I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride my bike. I want to ride. Yes. All right.
Well, I'm an ex-Great Falls pediatrician. Now live in Mount Shasta. I miss Montana tremendously, but Mount Shasta's okay. Anyway, the Hall family probably was the closest family to my family the entire time we were in Great Falls. Thank God Rich and Sean got together when they were in junior high. I never got into the doctor group in Great Falls. I worked there a lot, but I didn't like being with stuffy old physicians. So I had a better time with other folks. Anyway, in the late 70s, early 80s, I started biking. I met Virgil, and he and I had some fantastic bike trips together. We rode all around Great Falls, Stockett, Eden. I think we went up one time to Freeze Out Lake. Anyway, we rode around a lot, and we took 3 or 4 long trips together. we did Tazroff 3 times together. I think the last time I remember, Rich went with us. He wasn't in good biking shape. I was a little better than he was, but not much. And I remember Virgil and I would be riding along, and we'd stop to rest, and Rich would come up and say, "Oh, I'm done. I quit. I'm not going to go any further." And pretty soon at the next rest stop, here comes Rich. And same thing. I'm too tired. I'm not going to go any further. I'm wiped out. And we all finally made it back to Missoula, which was incredible. A couple times, Nancy picked us up early in Ronan, so we got lazy. That was a good thing. But we had a great time together, and Virgil was a really awesome biker. He was older than I at the time, still outbiked me tremendously well, but he'd always kind of wait up for me, which was nice to have a friend. And so we did Tazroff 3 times. He and I did what do I want to say? Double or triple pass bike ride. We rode out of Helena, went over McDonald Pass, went to Lincoln, and then back over to Helena, and I don't remember the name of that pass, but we made it. Dane, our youngest son, happened to be with us at the time. The main thing I remember about that ride is all the way up McDonald Pass, we had a headwind. It was just miserable, and it rained. And on the way down, we still had a headwind. So we all had to pedal going downhill as well. We had a really good time, stayed in Lincoln overnight, and headed back to Helena. We also made a trip together to the top of Kings Hill, camping. So we took all of our gear with us on the bikes and went up there, stayed at the campground on Kings Hill, and came back down. So he was a good biker, a great friend. I admired him tremendously. His family is extremely close to me, and I'm just really happy to be here and participate in the celebration of my friend Virgil's life. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. And we another cousin, Tom McDonald, is going to come up here and say a few things. I forgot one important thing at the beginning. Thank you to Keela and Nishka and Sarah and Graham and all of the people that help make Bonsai a wonderful, wonderful place to be and to go and to drink and to have a good time and relax. And so thank you to them.
I don't know, Mike, if I can follow that. I don't have extra clothes underneath this. Wish I did sometimes.
Clothes on.
Hi, everybody. It's
Good job. That was great.
fortunate and unfortunate to be here today.
The motel wasn't ready, so
I
I
am
just decided to wear all this.
From Nancy's side of the clan.
That's all right. What?
So I'm Nancy's second. Well, she's like my auntie cousin. She's my dad's first cousin.
Yes, I'm your auntie.
Okay.
Yes.
So Nancy and Virgil have always been kind of like auntie and uncle to me. Very important for me, and I will attest that we used to go to the state fair in Great Falls just to compete in that hugging competition that Nancy would do all the time. So it's for Mike and Rich and Sue and Nancy. It's Virgil's been a very special person in my life, and one of the stories I want to share with you is we grew up as a good Catholic family. And we always wanted to have more people in our family. My wife is here, Teresa. So we had 3 girls, and we decided to adopt. And a child came along, and they said, well, you know what? You're going to have to go over to Great Falls, Montana to pick up that child. It was in the middle of the winter. We had a Ford Aerostar all-wheel drive van. Top line, Never thought I'd be a minivan person or say that I was, but I was. So we're driving over there. It's pretty nice weather, but we go over and so I need help. And I know that Nancy and Virgil are there. Virgil loves babies, and I found that out from having him grab my kids and hold them and have to grab them away from him, you know. But not much long enough. I can't hold them any longer. But so I call him up and said, you know, we need some help. We're coming to pick up a baby, and he's due any time at this hospital. So without a blink, you know, Virgil and Nancy said, yeah, we'll help you any way we can. So we call him up, we see him, and we drop off our children to Nancy and Virgil. And they take care of my children as if they're their own, and spoil them, take them to the store, buy gifts for the new baby coming. Just incredible, incredible. So it was a wonderful moment for us. And also, when you think about someone being born in your family, it's a real special event that day when someone's being born. So when Christopher was born, that's my son. Also, because we were adopting him, there had to be someone there to witness it and sign for us. And who was there but Nancy and Virgil? So.
Yeah.
See it happen. Sometimes you turn around and
Yes, I took off my pants. So, you know, they were there, they signed for us. We were able to pick up that baby. And I can't remember what Virgil said when he saw that little boy. Well, he has a hair cap on. Full set of hair, very guy. But he grabbed a hold of that boy and hung on to him that whole time. We left that afternoon, the day he was born, in a blizzard in Montana, of course. Drove through a blizzard, but it was a fantastic moment for us. So, you know, Christopher had two sets of grandparents.
Yeah.
Virgil and Nancy were one, and my mom and dad were another.
Yeah.
I want to thank Virgil and Nancy for that.
Yeah. Christopher's a
It was
special
wonderful.
guy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
So, any other folks out there? Quick little, someone was mentioning about kiss a foot and stuff. Something that has, from when I was a little kid and Rich, we were told we could say anything that Dad would say. So there are a lot of words that George Carlin said that we couldn't say. So we found some of Dad's, you know, jumped up John Rogers and Peter went a fishing sort of thing, and kiss a foot and yak a puck. And I took on some of them that you would find maybe in the comic strips. I'd say rats, or darn it, or dag nabbit. But one day at Chief Joseph Elementary School, we were out playing football on a snowy day, and Ted was probably there, and somebody tackled me rather hard, and I was a little ticked. And recess ended, and we started walking in, and I was still ticked. And this friend of mine, he said, well, you should cuss him out. I said, well, I can't cuss. We're not allowed to cuss. And he said, no, you can do it. I said, no, my dad doesn't use those words, so I can't cuss. And he said, but your dad's not here. And I said, well, okay. And so then I let off this stream of expletives that I've never repeated. I don't even remember them. It would have made George Carlin blush. And it was that time. And to be honest, I don't have a lot of memories from elementary school, but I still feel guilty about cussing while walking in from recess in the snow. And, oy, oy, oy. But Dad still loved me, so that was
He
good.
didn't know it. No, Dad didn't know this.
So, one other little thing that I want to brag about Dad here for a second. Rich, and a lot of you know this, Dad wasn't like a superhero who could fly or levitate or become invisible, but he had special skills with the English language. He could say words backwards on command. right up until his last days, he could say words on command. So Rich and I could have heard a sentence like this. Dad would come out wearing his nuss sessalg, and he'd say, Kaim, the newt rock, nurtifa. Where's cheer? You two need to take Idloglurg for a walk. When you come back, Om and I will take you to Eatsatzirf for AIDS nusts. Rich, can you translate that? Okay, I'll help you out here. Nuss sessalg, any guesses? Sunglasses, nuss sessalg.
Yeah.
Kaim, Mike, newt rock. Rich. Oh, come on. Cartoon. A cartoon is a newt rock. We turn it off. Nurtifa, turn it off. Where's cheer? Cheer is right over there, sitting in a hat and waving at me. You need to take Idloglurg. Carol, who's Idloglurg? Do you know? Goldie Girl, our dog, Goldie Girl, Idloglurg, for a walk. She's sitting right over there, Mom. Will take us to Eatsatzirf. And the people in Ronan know Eatsatzirf because Eatsatzirf was Tasty Freeze, and I remember going to the Tasty Freeze in Ronan when we go visit Auntie. So Dad had that special skill, and he would regale us with it all the time. And it was a very impressive talent. Very, very. He's a talented dude. And so now, one thing that was always very, very special to Dad. I told you how he would come listen to our concerts in elementary school, listen to me play the tuba. But Dad loved music. They would go to the concerts. Mom and Dad took Rich and me to see The Fifth Dimension. I remember many, many, many years ago. And so Dad always loved songs. He liked to tell us how he was in the Philharmonic at Helena High, how he was in the church choir in Helena. So he would sing for us. One of his favorite songs, he's an old sailor, so he liked singing Anchors Aweigh. And one of his favorite songs of all time was Peggy Lee's Fever. And he would sing along to Fever whenever it would come on. And he especially loved to sing it to Aunt Peg. But one song that was a big favorite of his, and I especially enjoyed the way he would say this lyric. From Istanbul, not Constantinople. Even old New York was once New Amsterdam. Why'd they change it? I can't say. People just liked it better that way. And he would go into it with all that verve and vim, just like a good Montezay Bobcat fan would have. Most of the time, since he was married to Mom, when they'd go to weddings, he would do one dance with her. And the dance would pretty much inevitably be to Patsy Cline's Crazy.
That's right.
But 4 years ago, right here, we were here for a very, very, very special event. A wedding. Nishka and Paul's wedding. The dance floor was set up right there. Mom and Dad were going for a walk because Dad was a little uncomfortable, so let's go for a walk. They got out onto the dance floor. Dad started moving a bit. And then
With his cane.
Ma said, do you want to dance? And Dad said, yeah. He had the cane in one hand, and he kept dancing. And he danced through the night, leading people onto the dance floor. And in my mind, one of the things that was funniest was he'd get up and dance, but the song that really struck him that night and continued to have an impact on him beyond that time was Daft Punk's Get Lucky. And so we got home. I pulled the song up on Spotify. Dad's out about to work in the garden, but instead of working in the garden, he starts dancing. We're sitting in the house one night. I'm at this point I'm being a scientist, so I play the song again to see what the reaction will be, and Pavlov got up and danced. He not only danced, I would say, and I'm not very hip, I believe he twerked. When an 80-some-year-old guy twerks and doesn't need to go to the emergency room, that's impressive. And but Dad would also just listen to the music. And I remember one morning, a couple years ago, he was sitting in his chair working on a dot-to-dot book or a Sudoku or something, and Charlie Rich's song, The Most Beautiful Girl in the World, comes on, just shuffles through this playlist I made for Dad. And, you know, there's the lyric, say, have you happened to see the most beautiful girl in the world? And without skipping a beat, as he's dotting, or Sudoku, he goes, yep, I saw her and I married her. Never looked up, just responded to Mr. Charlie Rich.
Probably still in bed.
So, with Dad's love of music, I wanted to do something for him today. And so I thought maybe I'll rewrite a song. 'Cause I've rewritten songs before. They've all been about donuts, but I try to expand my themes. And I was thinking about what song to rewrite. Okay, here I go. On that night, when Dad passed, it was a tough night, honestly. And after that night, we turned on John Prine. And we listened to John Prine, and we listened to John Prine the next day. I listened to John Prine in the car. And his songs touched Dad. His songs touched us. We would watch John Prine's Austin City Limits episode quite frequently, just because of the special power it had and the love that he conveyed and the beauty of his words. And so I thought about rewriting a song of John Prine's for Dad, and so I did. And so what we're going to do now, Paul and Patrick and Ryan, they're musicians. They can play things and sing at the same time. I bought myself a ukulele with the idea of, hey, I'll do that for my dad. But I got the ukulele, I tuned the ukulele, but these hands and this mouth could not coordinate to do any of these songy things and singing at the same time. So I enlisted the assistance of my cousins, Paul and Ryan, and soon-to-be cousin, official cousin, Patrick. And so they're going to accompany me. And my niece, Emily, and my nephew, Ben, they have the lyrics of the singing portion of this song written out. Hopefully, if you want to come forward, because you might not be able to see it from back there, you can sing along. And then later in the song will be the time for you to bring out your kazoo. I'm sorry if I didn't have enough kazoos for everybody, but you're going to be kazooing at some point. If you've never played a kazoo before, why? But don't just blow on it. That doesn't work. Hum.
So did he.
That's what you do. We would have had at least one more kazoo if I hadn't commandeered this one. But I didn't have enough for everybody. I apologize. So Emily and Ben are going to show you the lyrics when we get the singing parts. And Ryan and Patrick, I don't know. I'll write someone. That works. That works. Yeah, you're going to need their guitar. That'd be good. Yeah, Ben, do you want to go stand in front there too, please? Is your banjo here? Oh, otherwise, I thought maybe you had changed instruments. But, yeah, so when we get to the kazoo part, you'll kazoo to the chorus while I'm scatting. Scatting a la Ella Fitzgerald, if Ella Fitzgerald did not have talent. And so, let me get my song out. Again, I didn't memorize this either. There we at. Hang on. Please hold. Where we go? Oh, hey, here it is right in front of me. So, oh, he's in the bathroom? Holy moly.
Who's in the bathroom?
So, if anyone you might not have noticed it, but my brother is not present at the moment. he had to take care of something. I'm guessing it's work related, involving like the stock market. Probably buying high and selling low, or whatever he's doing. He's doing something important for a client. If you need his business card, he'd probably give one to you. Great. I love my brother. I have. He's the best. I occasionally am a little short with him. We're not very tall to begin with, but I'm a little even shorter with him. So. Hey, is he back? Yay! All right.
He's back.
Okay. Okay, I need to get some water.
Oh, dear.
All right. If you want to move forward, there's more shade up here if you want to be in the shade. So we've got, guys, you ready? Our group here, I named our band Paul and the Three Balds. All right. I wouldn't ask other people to be in the band, but it would have messed up the name. Okay, so the John Prine song that I rewrote is, this is going to be rough.
I know. I know.
When I Get to Heaven by John Prine. And I've rewritten it as When Dad Got to Heaven.
Yes.
Okay? When Dad got to heaven, he went and found his dad. He told him he loved him, to not be sad. Then Dad got himself a new bike and rode up a steep hill and looked over this great tableau. Ain't the afterlife grand? And then he got himself an ice cream. 4 scoops would be a dream. Yep, he's gonna eat pie and cookies all day long. He's gonna watch his house mouse down in a GF house. 'Cause dear old Dad will always smile. Then he'll fill a yard with seeds. He'll go out and dig up all the weeds. He'll harvest his crops and give them away to the people with needs. Then he'll give neighbors extra veggies and flowers in bloom. Well, he'll of course give to the people he knows well. To those folks whose name don't ring a bell. For won't it all be just swell? And then he'll eat a salad in his room. And then he'll get himself an ice cream. And 4 scoops would be a dream. Yep, he's gonna eat pie and cookies all day long. He's gonna watch his house mouse down in a GF house. 'Cause dear old Dad will always smile. Kazoos! Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do do do. Yup. When Dad got to heaven, he went to look for his family. He wouldn't waste any time. They're the people he wanted to see. He'll find Grandma Hall, or as he called her, Mom, and his brother, Uncle Bob. With Dorothy and Betty, there'll be tears of joy. No one will sob. He'll find Grandma and Grandpa Smith, who had a home full of love. I miss my dad like crazy as he smiles from above. And Rich and I can recall the words he'd say, not sigh. Good buds, after I say goodbye, excuse me, you'll still be good guys. We still follow his lead, now that Dad went to heaven, where he got himself an ice cream. 4 scoops would be a dream. Yep, he's gonna eat pie and cookies all day long. He's gonna watch his house mouse down in her GF house. 'Cause my dear old Dad will always smile. Kazoo, da 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 dee doo doo. Do 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 do. Do 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 dee da 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 do do da. Do do da 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 da. Do 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 da. Da 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 da. Ba ba da do. Kazoo, one more time. Da 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 da. Ba ba da do do do. Do do ba do 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 do. da 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 dee da 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 do 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 da da do. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Emily. And now we're almost done. So we're very close to being done. Dad always marveled at the fact that in his life he was surrounded by amazing bakers, amazing people who would make great cookies and cakes
Your mom, too.
and
A lot of her recipes.
dough gods for him. And he especially loved pie. Not the 3.14 kind. He liked pie. And so I've asked a few friends of Dad's and mine, our loved ones, to make some pies. And we're going to celebrate by having some pie. The pie's going to be right out here, so we're going to have to just hang out for a second until the pie's here. But we're making some pie. We're all good with this.
What's that? You want me to help
So,
pies out? I don't know. He hasn't asked me for help.
There we go. All right. Reese is going to solo. Doing great. Oh, I want one other thing. Pie. Everybody is welcome to have pie, including Buckeye fans, Green Bay Packer fans, and Grizz fans. Everybody.
Vikings?
We're very open. What's that?
How about Vikings?
Vikings as well. Yeah. We're open-minded. We've got the vim. And so everybody is welcome to have some pie. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming here today, coming from afar, flying here. I haven't seen many of you in a long, long, long time. I love you all for doing this. I love you all just in general. Dad was awesome. I always say I'm a lucky kid, a very, very lucky kid, because of my friends' parents, because of my parents, because of the parental jackpot that I hit in 1967 and Rich in 1964. We're lucky guys. And we're lucky to have all of you as our friends and family. And so thank you for that. We're almost at pie time. We've got a variety of pies, and so we'll have some. So the plans are now. You can continue to mingle. You can continue to laugh. You can sing if you want. You can have some pie. But most importantly, more important than anything else, I want you to hug my mom. I am a lucky kid. So thank you all. And we're going to get some more music going. Where's music? Can we get the music going again?
You can.
Yes, sir.
What's that?
Get in your position. Virgil, a standing ovation.
Maybe you'll be out.
Oh yeah, they want to plan on dancing.
We're so looking forward to it. Thanks so much for coming. You're not going to have a piece of pie? Oh, okay. Well, it's so good to see you.
Hey, we'll see you soon.